Yeah, so thanks very much, everyone. Can people hear me online? And I'm never sure. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for the introduction, Christina. So in today's session, I'm gonna talk about a research study I did on developing digital capabilities in a networked learning community using social concept. Bit of a mouthful title, but it wouldn't be an academic paper if it wasn't. So I tried to keep the research bit brief because what I really want to explore in today's session is a learning activity design framework that was born off the back of this research, almost by accident, I'll be honest. It's doing development, so there's a lot of questions that we could explore together potentially. I need to emphasize that it's not a learning design framework because the world doesn't need another one of those. There's plenty of them out there. The elements that are quite important in this sort of framework and development are the community building aspect, which is where the network learning theory comes in, and also how we kind of think about impact and whether or not a student will learn what we want them to learn in our teaching, in our design process. This is where the threshold concepts come in. At this point, I should probably say, although the research does explore the development of digital capabilities, which I will touch on in there, that part could really be replaced by other subject areas if you like. So perhaps it would have been more appropriate if I replaced digital capabilities with learning. But John Bringle, thank you very much. Always making mention. Sorry, here's a mate of mine, he's allowed. I'll try him off later. Okay, so in the next few minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about theories. Please don't voice me because it would really hurt my feelings. No, I'm joking. Always forget I've got to. Right, hold on. Network learning theory first. So network learning theories set up a sort of criteria of what can be classed as a networked learning community or a learning network. It's quite specific, and there's a very vital difference between a networked learning community and a community of practice, which is probably a phrase that we're more familiar with. And the difference is a network learning community, the interactions between members of that group must be via a form of technology. Otherwise, it is just a community of practice. A network learning community also doesn't define a fixed membership, so you can dip in and out as and when you see fit. When Twitter was still a thing, academic Twitter was actually probably still is one of the most kind of successful and classic example of a networked learning community. Your local knitting club is a community of practice, so that shows the difference. Some network learning scholars also believe a learning network or network learning community have to have a strong emphasis on social justice. So there shouldn't be a particular leader. Anyone and everyone is allowed to contribute and take whatever they want. So there's a little bit of a difference there. This is why I think this theory is pretty awesome when it comes to describing online communities, particularly with emphasis on kind of student peer support, peer learning. So now we're going to move on to threshold concept, one of my favorite things to talk about, so I might not shut up till dinner time. So threshold concept is about how we learn, how we realize what we're learning is our knowledge rather than you being spoon-fed something. So it's all about reflection, I think, anyway. There are 5 classic threshold concept characteristics. Some people would argue there are 7, but I'm not bothered about it. I want to keep life simple. So I'm just going to quickly go through the definition. Google can give you a much better definition than I can, so do bear with me. So transformative is a change in our understanding of a subject. We can keep changing our views of the same topic. So your understanding of something isn't static. You're allowed to change your point of view as and when you develop as a person, as a learner. Irreversible means that once something is learned, it's almost impossible for you to unlearn something, for you to unsee what you've seen. Your view is going to change forever. Integrative means that pockets of isolated knowledge that you're aware of, but you're not sure how they connect, will start to make effect. So if you are going through an integrative experience, that means that you are on your way of becoming an expert in whatever that subject area that you're trying to be an expert in. Abandoners is that you start to understand the same word or terminology could have different meaning depending on the situation. So for example, we all know what a bus is. You might have taken one to get here today. It's a public transport, but a bus and computing or computer means the communication system that transport information between computers or from within a computer. So that's quite a classic example for people who work in IT to kind of understand bus could mean different things depending on the context. Last but not least, troublesome means a new perspective could be conflicting or alien to what you already know. We're positioning ourselves could be emotionally uncomfortable. I've always been told by my mum, if you get cold, you're going to get cold. But a doctor once told me, you're not going to get a cold if you get cold. You stick your head into the fridge, you're not going to get a cold. I'm hugely uncomfortable with the 2 points of view because I don't know which one is true. If I run around naked in the winter, am I going to get a cold? I don't know. So this is the kind of troublesome knowledge. Probably slightly inappropriate example there, but that's what popped in my head. So these are the kind of thresholds that you might cross when you're learning, when you're reflecting on your learning, specifically when you're reflecting on what you've learned, whether or not those knowledge would be useful for you. This is where you might enter a state of liminality, where you have to kind of figure things out, you have to kind of like work things out for yourself. And once you come out the other end, you should, in theory, according to the threshold concept, according to Rayland, don't blame me for that, if it doesn't work, you should be a master of knowledge of in your field. So at this point, you might wonder, well, how the hell do the two connect? Because they are, one is about personal reflection, the other one is about building a community. This is where my theoretical assumption is of how the two theories connect. Just my assumption, yours might be different. You join a network learning community because you're interested in what people are engaging and discussing about. And through the interaction, you start to gain perspectives that you can't otherwise learn anywhere else but through your peers. So there could be informal learning, chats, whatever that might be. And in this case, this particular study is about digital capabilities, but it could be anything else. And through this very unique peer interactions, it's my hope and my assumption that you can almost kind of sample each other through those threshold experiences. So to prove my assumption correct or not, was probably the point where the kind of framework I mentioned earlier was born. So to kind of test the theory, my theory, I designed a 4 weeks online course following the design-based research tradition. So design-based research methodology, or DBR in short, basically allows a researcher to stage an intervention, whatever that might be. I think it derived from psychology, I could be wrong, usually to improve practice, but predominantly it's to prove a theory, whether or not it works in real life. So to stage an intervention, particularly according to DBL, you have to create a very specific, very detailed conjunction map before you do anything. So in my case, in this study, I created a very detailed map, mapping the rationale of what the course is supposed to achieve, and then obviously the outcome, what I want the outcome to be. So basically the purple bits, I had to be quite specific on what I want to achieve rather than let's do an online course and see how it goes. That wouldn't work. And the stages between, as you can see, are what I plan to do, all the way from what I assume the interaction would be to the fine technical details. And obviously the other green bit is how I intend to collect data and what the data will be. So you have to be kind of quite persuasive when you're doing a DBL study, which is exactly what I wanted to try. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more detail about exactly what went on in the course, because at this stage it's still kind of quite theoretical. So yeah, I opened a university because I could. It's still floating around somewhere because the company that gave me a license to do this test forgot to close the license. So, and I'm never going to tell them. Because I only had a 4 weeks window, I would have really loved to actually run an actual course, but I didn't have the luxury of time. So I invited a group of colleagues, digital learning colleagues, to take part because they would be able to kind of get into characters more quickly, and they'd be able to give me more kind of critical reflection and feedback because they already understand digital capabilities to varying degrees. Okay, so just to show you the sample size, 23 people is kind of like a quite standard size of a cohort student. And that's what I wanted. So these are kind of just a spread of the people from academics to kind of professional services colleagues. So let's see. So this map is kind of like one step in from the conjunction map where I wanted to kind of map how practically what was going to happen in the course on a kind of week by week basis. In the activities bit, you can see the course is relatively simple because I just wanted to test the interaction. So the activity bit, like most online things, I decided to make it flexible. So it was mostly asynchronous discussions because then it allowed people the time and the space, they can just join the discussion as and when they wanted to. But the difference is this is more structured. So I would assign particular discussion. I would give them a particular time frame, like, within this 5 days, you're supposed to discuss this topic and that topic, etc. At the end of each week, I would ask them specific focus group question. That's part of the data collection, add data in the conjunction map. And I also mapped out what I thought the interaction would be and what kind of the thinking process might be. I mean, I couldn't read their mind, but as I said, DBL allows you to be quite direct with what you want your participants to give you. Also, I mapped out what I thought the outcomes would be in terms of what improvement you would see. So I actually love it because John was saying I'm a positive book, so I actually love that because I can tell people exactly what to do. So up until this point, a lot of work has gone into the study, but it's still in a planning stage. No data collection has begun, no interaction with the participant had begun because with DBL is you basically are loading everything up front. You've got the whole kind of design map out. Then only then I've begun the course, which is where the fun begins. How are we doing for time? We've got about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Shall we just quickly jump through to the final bit of the data? I can go back if you want me to talk more details. So this is basically the visual map of the 4 weeks interaction. At the end of it, loads of discussion happened between the participants, loads of interaction between me and them as well. And I could go back to the kind of more detailed mapping week by week, but I just wanted to show you the visually what the threshold crossing happened for the participant within a 4 weeks time and what kind of interaction they have with each other. It's meant to be messy, it's meant to be complicated. And I think in a networked learning community help learning, I think it can if you direct them, give them a bit of direction as to what to do. If digital capabilities were improved, I think it were, again, because I was quite direct. I wanted the people to develop particular areas of digital capabilities. So I made sure it happened through the design process. So I think, if this intervention were to be used in a different subject, say science or arts or whatever that might be, can it work? I think it can, but it really depends on the planning, which is where I have a big question mark in my head right now. And for the last few months, how do I take this framework further to kind of make it work? Last time I presented this paper at a different conference, I had various offers of using it in people courses, but people never came to me to cash in the offer. So if you want to have a chat afterwards, I'll be very happy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here.